My name is Caroline Poynton, and I'm recording whatever this is about King Charles. I am from Bury in Manchester, and King Charles, well, let's just say this one, converted to Islam, so he has. But funny, King Charles just thought like a fucking mate.
Hello and welcome. It's time for the King's Speech again.
You're laughing at me.
This is the fourth one, and I'm beginning to realise now that just commenting on King Charles every year isn't good enough.
A bit strange.
I think the first year we were hopeful it was a
even stranger than the stranger things that happened.
Who knew what he was going to say, how he was going to do it.
This is even stranger
years
than that program Strangers Things.
And there's something really
weird,
very sad about the situation we're locked into.
Sad and weird.
And I want to change the dynamic if I can, from making it complaining, whinging, criticising, to try and introduce a little,
because that's his interfaith, changed his religion to Muslim, hasn't he? Of course he has. Of course he's done that.
There are a number of people who comment on media and they look down from a kind of lofty perch of their own moral superiority and they excoriate people. I'm thinking particularly of some Catholic commentators who are forever telling off the bishops and the clergy because they are so effortlessly superior. It's very unattractive in all kinds of ways. It shows a lack of humility, a degree of hubris, and it's very easy for one to get sucked into that, and I began to see that I was getting sucked into it too with King Charles, and so I'm very sorry about that.
Tell me
I apologise for being unsympathetic and being apparently destructive and critical. I don't want to do that. On the other hand, we have to take seriously what he says because there's an act of deception going on, and we need to expose the act of deception. But before we do, what could he do instead?
What could he do?
Let's just say, in a parallel universe where some of his
retire and do one
it's
for himself.
Advisors.
You could do the Okie-Cola, do one.
The mandarins of the state who run
because he's traited us out to Islam, hasn't he?
Lives in his own bubble, of course.
He lives in his own fucking bubble because he's Islam bubble.
Internet too.
Ain't King of Church of England. Yeah, no Church of England, is it? No way.
No. Exhilaration.
He never said nothing about the Church of England.
And the difficulty is that they must be very scared.
He never said nothing about Christians.
Any person knows that we're approaching a period of serious crisis. Something between civil disorder and civil war. This is a terrible thing to say.
And King Charles is not helping, he can leave.
I find the courage to say it because Professor Betts of King's College London and Professor of War Studies has been saying it now for some time.
And then he's lying about his cancer and anything else.
What would you do? What would you feel like if you were king in a country where civil war was coming?
Well, you do
I think there must be a sense of alarm even inside the palace. And what they're doing is, of course, what administrators always do. They just tighten their grip, hold on and hope it'll go away. But it isn't going to go away. What could the king do now? He could realise that we have two very serious problems that need addressing by the king. Who is the king? What is the king? Well, we have a constitutional monarchy.
King and who the fuck is
back, but essentially he's a person of moral significance.
Yeah, well, he
has
should
a moral
be, but he isn't.
In the country.
He's a fucking idiot.
Has a great deal of public affection buoying him up.
Don't care.
Mainly one by his mother.
Yeah, by his mother, he gave him a slap.
Have done.
She was just as bad, Queen Elizabeth. Don't start with her. She didn't do fuck all either.
World War, where they behaved as moral leaders pulling society together. And we get echoes of this in Charles's speech. He wants to go on pulling society together, but we live in such a different situation from the Second World War. That can't be done. There's a different response required now. The king has to save his nation. That's what he should be doing. How could he save us? He could save us by confronting the government on free speech.
He could save us by not running to Islam and training us to Islam and him not changing his religion, mate.
Why can't King Charles III of England do it? He could, of course.
He's eating halal meat, mate. Halal Waitrose Dutch's meat.
The emergence of hate crime.
Watch the documentary about the sheep being slaughtered by the Muslims.
Constitutionally
acceptable. Watch that. Slaughtered with all sorts, yeah. I mean,
the government would be forced
and abuse that they abuse
the degree to which he would be
lands and
on
everything.
Behalf of the people to give way
and then
on
King
that.
Charles,
It shouldn't
AI, yeah, well it shouldn't be, because I tell you what, AI and Google trying to deny lies and there's no evidence. Well, actually, there was something about Queen Elizabeth and King Charles maybe converting to Islam a while ago, went before Queen Elizabeth passed away, quite a few years ago. And they covered that up, didn't they? And that's been kind of hidden ever since, hasn't it? Nobody wants to talk about that part ever since then. Ever since the thing came out that he converted to Islam, King Charles. No, they hid that. They hid it. And now Google's saying there's no evidence. The AI saying there's no evidence. Well, stuff your evidence, because he doesn't eat pork anymore. He won't eat pork, and he's eating halal meat. He's got his own Waitrose slaughter halal meat survey for himself, which I hope they're not coming from the slaughterhouse in Birmingham for himself. Oh no, he might have Waitrose Dutchy ones, isn't it? Being slaughtered by Waitrose Dutchies, which will be in Birmingham, the same place as slaughtering these sheep. The halal, for halal meat. And the documentary is quite horrific, with sheep being shoved from, battered, the horns cut off, it's just horrendous. And King Charles is advocating for halal meat. No, he won't eat pork anymore. He has not talked about the Church of England. He didn't talk about any Christians or the Christian faith. Don't get me wrong, I don't mind talking about other faiths, but talk about your Christian faith, and you can probably intertwine some of other people's faiths into some things. But why he only wants to talk about diversity and all faiths, all religion and faiths? No, it's not all religion and faiths. It's your own religion and faith. What religion and faith are you? It's about his own religion and faith. His own religion and faith, what he should be to the Church of England. And he's not. He's not doing that. Oh, and by him dismissing the digital ID. Yeah, good on King Charles for that, but he's not done that for Christians and the country and the people in the country. He's done that for Islam, for people that are Muslim, that don't want digital ID. And they'll be the people that'll be pushing back. The Muslims. Why do you think they want all these Muslims here as well? Because they'll be the ones that are pushing back for this digital ID. There we have it. There we go. It's all to do with that.
Oh, I don't want to call them radicals. That's the wrong word. It should not depend upon people taking the whole system. We should not have
England, by the way, in Europe,
as we have had, who are locked up for saying the things that the king
Israel
should be
gambles
saying.
And falls, yeah.
He should be saying we're not prepared to be invaded by hundreds of thousands of foreign nationals.
And why is King Charles not allowed stopping it? Why was he? Why another one? Why King Charles so bothered about the illegal migrants that were being sent to Uganda? What was he bothered about? And it cost me 15 grand from England as an English person to be able to ever go there. Not that I would go there if I could afford it. I can't go there because I can't fucking afford it. And pauper. Oliver Twisty's fucking sister, please sir, can we have some more? Yeah, right. So what King Charles would have to moan about that for? What was he so concerned about the illegal migrants going to Uganda for? Why did King Charles butt into the political world with Sunak and stop that with Labour? There's one. So we wouldn't stop illegal migrants coming to England. Yay, King Charles. Carry on, mate. Then, why would he be giving Sadiq Khan a knighthood? Sadiq Khan. What would King Charles be giving him a knighthood for? When he's the worst mayor in London, in England, in the world. Even Donald Trump said he's the worst mayor in the world. He's terrible. Have you seen the state of London? Have you seen the state of England? And King Charles is giving Sadiq Khan a knighthood. I wonder what for. And Lord fucking Ali and the rest of him, Shamir Mood and whoever else is there, King fucking Charles and his bastard diversity. Great. No, he should not be doing that. We should not be swearing an oath and then sinning the Bible. Now he's opened Pandora's box and he's let the devil in. You do know the devil is probably going past Hitler and fricking Jack the Ripper. He does know the devil now. Poltergeist for himself. Poltergeist I am sending to King Charles. Because a mother like me, innocently, social pedo fucking services that belong to him, your majesty, and the fucking governments, have wrongly, falsely adopted my little girl. She's now 12. She's on her own. If any migrant pedo, whatever, harm her, I am holding King Charles responsible. And I'll have to hope that I have the power from my granddads. 15 of them, the Poynton family from Yorkshire, Stockport. Thank you. Well, Stockport and Yorkshire and Manchester. And over 15 of them have been in the war. They better hope that my ancestors, we can fight this. I can fight King Charles, and he better hope that nothing happens to my little girl. Because if anything happens to her, I'm holding King Charles responsible. Poltergeist. There's my last next bet. That's what I'm sending to King Charles. I better hope that my ancestors are channeling and spiriting Hitler and Jack the Ripper to help me to fight King Charles off and to send in Poltergeist, the devil. Because he's caused this with the royal family. They're not even fucking English, they're German Gotha German. They created Hitler. Their Gotha bomb hit England, don't forget, and then they changed the name to the royal family. And none of them are even fucking real English, apart from which was called Queen Victoria, which, well, even if she was English back in the day, it didn't count as a woman anyway. And then, because she slandered the country, slagged us out to fucking Germany, anti-German, right? She slagged us out to Germany. Victoria, she should have had her head chopped off. She was the one that allowed Queen Elizabeth and the rest of
it
to
is not
move
acceptable
from Germany
to do this. It is not acceptable for my government
not. Get out.
to give these hundreds of thousands of illegal immigrants a degree of health care that my own citizens who pay for
and I can't get
have.
healthcare. My sister can't get healthcare.
And it is stretching the body politic to breaking point. And as king, I'm not going to have my kingdom stretched to breaking point.
And okay,
I'm not going to sit
just
back quietly.
Just because my sister hasn't paid in all that. Well, my sister has paid in. Natalie has paid into the system. Okay, I've paid in a little bit, maybe not as much. But we've had a life of hell. Wasn't our fault. And even as adults, we are trying. But there's, like you're saying, there's no help out there for any mental health help or any help. And people are just struggling, and people are struggling with money, struggling with this, struggling with that. People can't have a home, people can't have anything. And, well, yeah. I don't feel guilty for Israel and Palestine or anywhere else. No, I don't. I've got over 15 granddads. Well, one granddad, my granddad, and 14, 15 great-granddads that have all been in the war. The sinking battles and everything. 1,500 years worth of history from my family that have all been in war, in all different wars, and they've paid into the system. So me and my sister, with what we've been through with the authority in this fucking country, my granddads have paid in for me and my sister for life. So we don't have to be, I shouldn't have to be stuck in my situation, by the government, just because they wrongly, falsely adopted and stole my little girl, because they want to send her out trafficking like they've done to me when I was in care. We've been abused, and I've been in care, and I got trafficked out by the government. Oh yeah, I was 13 onto the Manchester City Centre street on my own with crackheads, prostitutes, drug dealers, pimps. I'm very lucky that I'm 43 now and I've never touched hardcore drugs in my life. And social pedo services took my little girl because they used my prostitution and everything that they did to me against me. And I'm innocent, an innocent mum. My little girl's 12. I've not been able to see her since she was 2. And she's on her own. And they're allowing all these paedophiles, King Charles. He's involved with Prince Andrew and the rest of it, man. He's a fucking pedo and a psycho and a murderer. King Charles is. I don't give a fuck. I'm not scared of him. Get out for himself. I can tell that one now. I am not scared of him. Get out for himself.
You'll see that in the piece that I'm going to offer you, which is slightly better crafted, in order that the criticism is moderated.
My little girl back to me, a mother in Bury, Manchester, because Manchester Court, family court. Yeah, well, that crown above there is belonging to the royal fucking family, yeah. My family and all the royal family, they've had honours of the royal family. They've worked with Hitler, they killed it, they were killing Hitler and all sorts of things. So how dare the royal family think they're getting out of this? King Charles, you better go and find out the sources of who might have my little girl and bring her back to her mother, mate. Or leave. Or get out, pedo. Because I am not scared of them anymore. I'm not scared of poltergeist, Hitler, or any of them anymore. No, I'm not. I'm sent them to King Charles instead. Thank you, God. Amen. That's my prayer for today.
By thoughtfulness, that I'm going to suggest he's a bit like
backwards
a cinema manager with a fire going on in the cinema. But we'll come to that in a moment. What should the king be doing? He should be speaking out, making moral claims on behalf of Christianity as against
what I've just
this
said.
Fusion
Everything
of
I've just
Islam,
said
which no one has agreed to, and nobody wants. He should be speaking out in favour of democracy. The government must not introduce thought crimes. He should be speaking out in favour of religious freedom. The government must not introduce buffer zones in which people standing on...
That's what King Charles should be doing, and he's not done that, so he can get out.
Immigrants a degree of health care that my own citizens who pay for it cannot have. And it is stretching the body politic to breaking point. And as king,
won't touch my house,
I'm not going to have my kingdom stretched to breaking point. I'm not going to sit back quietly and do nothing.
Been going for it for 12 years for this freaking house of the council. They won't do anything to my house. I'm living in a house that's not fit enough to live in. I've had solicitors, citizens' advice. They all seem to be just ignoring me because they know what they've done wrong with my little girl and King Charles. I'm holding him responsible as the faith of the king and the religion and faith of Christianity and faith of God, Jesus, and the faith of the Church of England. And I'm as an innocent person that hasn't done anything wrong to anyone or my little girl. I'm not saying I don't have problems. I'm not saying I don't have depression and things. But to take falsely, wrongly adopt my little girl and I can't see her. I've not seen her since she was 2 years old. And anything could be happening. She should be going on a bus soon on her own to go to high school. And she doesn't have to. She's got a mother here. Then does King Charles think that's diversity and correct? Does God think that's diversity and correct? To leave an innocent mother suffering like me, not knowing where my little girl is, not knowing if she's okay, not knowing how she's doing at school, if she's growing right, is she healthy, how her hair is, how she's looking, is she dressed right, is she beautiful? And people sit there and they think it's not hard. Well, pedo fucking services have took my little girl wrongly, forcefully. I call it kidnap. Yeah, Israel give their hostages back. Now they've took my little girl as a hostage so they could traffic her out as well, King Charles. So cunt, he better go and get something done or get out. Because I'm sending poltergeist, that he's in the Bible. Now he's in the Bible. God can't help you, and you've let open the door for the devil, for hell, which is poltergeist. Poltergeist is hell, he's a devil.
That I'm going to offer you, which is slightly better crafted in order that the criticism is moderated by thoughtfulness.
Moderated, I'm not moderating, he can fucking get out.
A cinema manager with
changed
a fire
his religion
going on
before he
in the
became
cinema.
king and swore an oath on the Church of England.
What should the king be doing? He should be speaking out, making moral claims on behalf of Christianity as against this infusion of Islam, which no one has agreed to and nobody wants. He should be speaking out in favour of democracy. The government must not introduce thought crimes. He should be speaking out in favour of religious freedom. The government must not introduce buffer zones in which people standing on the streets of England can be arrested for praying in their heads. The king could say all of these things without engaging in party politics.
Yeah, but I could get arrested now for praying at home.
He has a moral duty to do it.
Probably post it online because I just prayed about the devil to send it to King Charles, because I don't want to hear me. Get to King Charles.
Which says nothing.
Do your job,
it's mistaken in its concepts. It's mistaken in its application. It's seriously mistaken as a piece of strategy for the monarchy at a time of crisis.
Spirit world will help
How many
me
more
send
King's speeches do you think there might be? A number of serious commentators look at the next 5 years and wonder if there isn't going to be some form of tectonic crisis with the government imposing some kind of martial order on us, like COVID, but for different reasons, suspending elections.
I've sent Hitler and
people are concerned that there's going to be some form of kicking off in the streets against large crowds of Muslims and local people
back to where it was created.
That then spreads.
Yep.
We know that every time there's an issue, the government immediately try and lock up people for saying things on Facebook. We're living on a knife edge. What should the king be doing? The king should be speaking on behalf of his people. For freedom, for democracy, for real British values. Nobody knows what those are. Those have been constructed in a post-Blair right ideology. Real British values are the values that existed, let us say, up until Tony Blair.
Tony Blair, yeah.
The consensus.
And King Charles, Tony Blair, 96,
based
97.
On Christian ideas.
And it was a bit before that, maybe 93.
By our people through the slow evolution of our complex society, which wasn't so much multicultural, but had multi-elements of one type or another. But let's go to the speech itself and see why it failed and why it's so serious. And for that, I ask your forgiving. I'm going to read from the script. I know it's just less contact. I try and read from script in a way that seems more personal. So I hope not to bore you with it. But I think I need to choose my words carefully. So
and King Charles has changed his religion.
So looking at the script, what did he say? What did he get wrong? Why was it so awful? We've looked at what he might
That's exactly
do right.
Why.
But let's go back and look at what happened. Interesting, wasn't it? He's moved. Before we start the formal bit, he's moved from a room in Buckingham Palace to Westminster Abbey. In one sense, that's very good. Why not go to the Abbey, which is the heart of old England? Actually, it's the Catholic heart of old England, of course. But the problem is, the reason why it doesn't work is he wasn't speaking on behalf of the values that the Abbey represents.
Nope.
It was borrowing as a backdrop to give legitimacy to something that was illegitimate and consequently not welcome, not a good idea.
To Muslims, Islam.
Well, what about
he was giving Islam our church.
We've known for some time that the king is, of course, committed to this interfaith relativism.
Interfaith religion.
God help us.
Yeah, God help us, because the king fucking Charles is awful.
The anxiety of so many
this all this time.
Doing by using this language is aiding a project which is intended to reconfigure post-Christian identity.
Yeah.
Think of it for a moment. The supreme governor of the Protestant Christian Church in this country, aiding and abetting a cultural program he is not required to aid and abet.
It's a sin.
Which is ultimately going to replace Christianity by watering it down.
It's in the Bible.
This reconfiguring of a post-Christian identity. This allows the monarchy to remain in place, but it detaches it from its roots. How is that legitimate? The monarchy will become illegitimate by doing exactly what he's doing. In fact, this speech is, in a sense, the illegitimization of his own monarchy because of his endorsement of a program that will destroy our culture, a culture upon which his monarchy is based and ought to be an expression of. So he has become an ally of those disguising the truth about the project of social revisionism that has advanced so far in decades. This is not the work of the monarchy. This is not the work of the king. The king's multiculturalism comprises of a number of different elements, of course, all of which pose as Christian.
I'm just watching him recording.
But they're less than Christian. The most obvious, I guess, is the celebration
of... I'll put my own version into it, and then I'll put it into AI. I'll put it onto YouTube, then AI it as well. And then it'll write me a story up, and then I'll make my own video of it. Well, it's better than doing nothing. At least it's concentrating and it's moving my mind and my brain. Instead of doing nothing. I mean, I'm not saying you can't watch telly, but Tony's just watching things that are not relevant to the world. At least this one is more relevant. Actually, it's quite good with what he's saying, and everything I've said about King Charles and who he should be and what he should be doing and what he should be standing for, I am correct in all of it. In everything this guy's saying, I am correct. In everything I've been saying. Now that means I've been doing my homework right. My homework's all about my own work. I'll send you a story that I wrote once about your homework's all about your own work. And just playing computer games and eating crisp and Tony's sitting there watching something that's not even irrelevant. I mean, okay, don't get me wrong, yeah, there's a time when you can watch a bit of junk TV. There's a time when you can eat junk food. There's a day where you can have a day like on a Sunday to not do much and have a sloppy day. A lazy day in your pyjamas and stuff. Nobody said that them days can't, then you're not allowed to do them days. You are. People are allowed them days for themselves. Everybody's allowed them days. Yeah? Sunshine, well, I know I was shouting. I shouted at Tony. Because maybe you needed telling off, Natalie. I've sent him what I've sent some of you. About you walking and you eating and him watching telly. Oh, I sent him that about the TV thing, a whole lot off Google. So I said, well, stop watching TV and go through that, Tony, and read what you're doing. And maybe you might sit and realise, Tony, I know you're older, right? But by just sitting there, not doing anything, how's that going to energise anybody, or do anything for anybody? Just, I mean, I watch telly, like I'm doing now. But I'll at least watch things that are relevant to watch. A bit of news and stuff.
The nice, capital N. The idea that essentially all religions are really the same. They're joined together by a common universal spirituality. You know, this was something that I suppose characterized much of the last century as relativism grew, but the more you know about the religions, I'm tempted to go off into a spontaneous lecture, but I mustn't do it. The more you realize that the gods, the ideas behind them are different. Yeah. It is, of course, true to say that everyone thinks they're doing good. But the great challenge for all of us is to distinguish between what we think of is good and what is ultimately and really good. And in the end, it's Jesus. Jesus is the great epistemological tip of the pyramid. Mm-hmm. If you have him, then it turns out that Muhammad and Allah are different, that the pantheon of Hindu gods are different, the pantheon of Roman and Greek gods are different. Buddhism, not that it's exactly a religion, it's more a philosophy, is different. They're not the same. It would be true to say that we all want to do good and think we're doing good, but that is not the same thing as saying that ideologically all religions are the same and joined together by a common universal spirituality. It's tragically and problematically not true. And the heart of this new project that the king is fronting is this destruction of our Christian national culture, what is left of it at any rate, and its replacement by, I suppose, what can we do but call it internationalist multiculturalism.
They're in a different way, isn't they?
I was trying to think of an analogy that might serve as an example of what is being done to us.
The Jews and the Christians.
Poor Charles is being used as a front person for. Willingly, unwillingly, knowingly, unknowingly.
Yeah,
we can't know, but function we can tell and judge. So I had in my mind,
there's a lot of deep secrets
manager of a cinema.
Family, you see.
He's being asked to say something nice about a film that's showing. Nice. And so he stands on the stage for an audience of patrons and a few other well-meaning people, and he offers some compliments about the film. It's a nice film. It's a good film. It's a film that will draw us together as an audience. It's a film we might relax and enjoy. But the problem is, in the cinema, there's a fire. The difficulty is, if he knows there's a fire, let's imagine he doesn't know there's a fire. But of course the problem is he does know. So the manager's on stage telling the patrons about the film, but there's a fire in the back. What he should really be saying is he's being asked to say something nice about a film that's showing. And so he stands on the stage for an audience of patrons and a few other well-meaning people, and he offers some compliments about the film. It's a nice film. It's a good film. It's a film that will draw us together as an audience. It's a film we might relax and enjoy. But the problem is, in the cinema, there's a fire. The difficulty is, if he knows there's a fire, let's imagine he doesn't know there's a fire. But of course the problem is he does know. So the manager's on stage.
And this King Charles, he thinks interfaith. Well, I just think about it. There is no such fucking thing as interfaith. They can't be. We can't all be the same colour, the same religion, and indoctrinate the same shit around the world. Because that's not how the world works in the first place. The world's been created as it's been created. And it's been created with lots of different religions, like you're saying, lots of different colour people, lots of different backgrounds of people, and we can't all be the same, like a fucking robot. Digit like fucking day. Yeah, like a fucking bastard robot.
The difficulty is, if he knows there's a fire,
he knows there's a fire.
Let's imagine he doesn't know there's a fire. But of course the problem is he does know. So the manager's on stage telling the patrons about the film, but there's a fire in the back. What he should really be saying is, get out.
Get out.
Run for the exits. Save yourselves. You need to put this fire out, or you're in danger.
Out, King Charles.
But instead, knowing there's a fire, well, you decide if he knows it or not.
Into it instead.
He keeps the audience there with some bland compliments about the film. But the theatre is a death trap. The theatre, our society, our community is going to collapse, and it's going to do a great deal of harm to the people trapped inside.
Yeah.
He should be raising the alarm, and I think that's my great complaint about this speech. The fourth speech in. Things have got worse than much for years. It developed and diminished. He should be raising the alarm, and he could do it without great drama. He could do it carefully, delicately, seriously, saying, as king, I can't stand by and watch the government bring in policies that restrict freedom of speech for my people.
As being a Christian,
I can't
being
stand
Catholic,
by and watch my people deprived of the resources that they are required to be given by the government as the justification for government, as the alternative to anarchy. Whilst
this will be part of the government
project,
but carefully
the state of illegal immigration is taking place on the scale. He could say those things delicately, gently. He could raise questions. He should be raising the alarm. But instead, he confines himself to a few pleasant remarks about the virtues of the film, and says nothing about the fire.
Christians and Catholics,
what is not said is sometimes more important than what is said.
Irish, Scottish, English and Wales.
What the speech did not say, well, it contains serious misrepresentations about Christianity. This is Christmas. He's supposed to be speaking on behalf of the faith. Why are these misrepresentations so serious? We might first agree on a few principles that define the issues we're talking about. It's always been clear to Christians that the church either has to convert the surrounding culture or else it gets converted by it. A very good example would be Nazi Germany. Let's not go down that rabbit hole, but just as a recent example of what was required was that you either, when you're faced by an anti-Christian secular force of that intensity, that depth, that rapidity, you either convert it or it gets you and it makes you a prisoner. Let's look back at some of our more focused voices. St. Augustine, in the City of God, points out resolutely, don't live according to the customs of this world, but according to the commandments of God. For the world proposes its own standards, but the city of God by another law. This is, of course, an echo of what Jesus said about the danger of living in the world. St. Athanasius, who was Bishop of Alexandria. Alexandria, the whole of North Africa, was once Christian. You don't need me to tell you why it's not Christian anymore. He takes it further when he reminds the church of this. The word of God was not conformed to the times, but the times were healed by the word. In other words, this isn't just about our own integrity. This is not just about surviving uncorrupted. This is about healing the world by healing it with the word of Christ. We have to give priority to the word of God, or else our society will be left unhealed. We must not be conformed to the times. Benedict XVI, as Joseph Ratzinger, said the same thing. Of course he said the same thing. It's always true. To the Roman Curia in December 2005, he said the church does not grow by adapting to the world. This is very much to do with the argument of the Second Vatican Council and the extent to which it adapted to the world or met the world halfway. That's another argument, another discussion. We're still having it. If we go on, Ratzinger says the church does not grow by adapting to the world, but by offering the world something better than itself. That's very powerful. The world is longing for something better than itself. It's hungry. It's desperate for it. Our own society today is longing for something better than itself. And this is where we, as part of the church, should be articulating what that better is. Some of us are trying. Subscribe, please, to the New English Catholics. Exactly what I'm trying to do. The King should be trying to do it too. He should, instead of being complacent and patting people on the head and saying, well done, and being alarmed about potential division, he should be offering the world something better. But that's the Christian faith. That's Jesus. That's the life of the church. That's the redemption of society. That is why he should be raising the alarm and at the same time offering something better. However, instead of offering Jesus and the faith of the church as salve for both soul and society, what the king did was to provide instead an unmitigated diet of multicultural relativism and multi-faith digest. Let's start with pilgrimage without repentance. So, speech was an exercise in choosing certain elements of the faith consistent with the feast of Christ's birth and repackaging them to act as vehicles of different ideological, theological and political content, whilst disguising their original meaning and context.
Yeah.
So let's give an example. Let's look at this way he began with the idea of pilgrimage. He started by talking about his meeting with the Pope. And why not? It must have been a wonderful experience for him. He suggested that the meeting was defined by celebrating together the Jubilee theme, Pilgrims of Hope. Well, this is administrator speak. This is how you know immediately. One of the flunkies wrote this speech. How can we repackage this? How can we spin this? How can we present this? A Jubilee theme, Pilgrims of Hope. Within the Catholic Church, pilgrimage is a very serious business indeed, and always has been. But Charles isn't using it in that sense. Pilgrimage in this speech was used euphemistically and given a different meaning from the one it was designed to convey as part of Catholic spirituality.
Yeah.
Let me not lecture you on Catholicism and pilgrimage for the moment, but let's stick to the focus of what we're doing. For the king, as he said, pilgrimage becomes a means of learning lessons from the past. Do you not put your head in your hand the moment you hear politicians and administrators say, we're going to learn lessons? It means they haven't done anything of the kind. It's a euphemism for saying, get off our back, we're going to improve things. But you know they can't, and you know they won't. So the king is not learning lessons from the past. The real lessons from the past
the same situation.
were swept under the carpet.
Yeah.
The irony of this cannot be lost, particularly on Catholics today, but on all Christians, maybe on many agnostics too, who are looking at this with critical eyes and wary of what's being done.
It will come back.
Leaving aside the lessons of British history and the significant rupture of the Protestant Reformation, when I first began to compose a critique of this, I went down my own rabbit hole. I've come back up again. We won't touch that just now. Different conversation, different day.
Yeah.
Nonetheless,
I like this guy. It's all right.
There are still lessons in European history if we leave aside the ruptures of the Reformation. And the ravaging of the monasteries. I'm not going to go there. I promise I'll stop. Lessons of European history. If we were to learn lessons from the past of European history, as the king suggests, might not one of them be that Islam was only stopped in the west of Europe by the determination of Charles Martel and driven back into Spain, and from there driven back across the Mediterranean?
Yeah.
Might we not remember that it was only stopped in the east of Europe? Islam has been trying to force its way into Europe since the very beginning of its history.
And King Charles,
might we not remember that it was stopped by the praying of the Rosary and the courageous soldiers and sailors at Lepanto? Might we not remember that it was precisely because of the emergence of militaristic Islam threatening pilgrims from Europe as they made their way to Jerusalem in the Christian Middle East that the Crusades emerged, the expansion and invasion of Christian lands by Muslims dedicated to conquering Christian territory?
Yeah.
For some extraordinary reason, the Crusades have been presented as an aggressive act by the Christian West, whereas they were in fact a defensive act against the Islam which unashamedly seeks to make the whole world Muslim, but by force as well as by evangelism. And that's the real difference between Jesus and Muhammad. Muhammad was a warlord who executed his enemies. Jesus was not. He was the Messiah. He was the Logos. He was the Word of God who taught people a personal morality of turning the other cheek, and had no geopolitical strategy for the church. Islam has a very carefully defined geopolitical and military strategy. The Crusades were defensive. They weren't a Christian version of Islamic expansionism.
And King Charles has already done it
to silence
by
speech
changing his
and
religion.
this false idea of unity. Is there any role at all for the king to hold his government to account for overseeing unstoppable illegal immigration that appears to favour just one faith? It's the other faith.
Plan.
It's
Why
Islam.
would King Charles be so
What are the lessons of the Second World War which he brought up? They are, amongst others, that democracy may require the costliest of sacrifices to defend and maintain it. Is the king willing to make a sacrifice to defend democracy by speaking out on behalf of it, on behalf of his people? Let him ask himself the question he was putting to us. What's the lesson of the Second World War? Democracy costs. My dear King Charles, are you willing to pay the price for saving democracy, which will involve you stepping out of the role, out of the bubble that others are creating for you, using your own judgment and saving our society before it is destroyed by sinking into the sinkhole that is opening up under our feet?
And King Charles won't do that.
There was no recognition in his speech that under this government we are losing our right to freedom of speech.
And he won't say anything, King Charles, because he don't give a fuck.
We appear to be losing freedom
Why
of thought.
does he care?
There are jokes that can't be made now because they represent wrong things. The Second World War was commemorated by the king not as a determined resistance to anti-Semitic fascism, but as an exemplar of the way communities come together to face challenges. That's awful. That is just awful. I hardly know how to, on the North Sea convoys, not in order to defend the way communities come together to face challenges. My dear king, who do you think you are? What do you think you're saying? How can you misrepresent it? As it happened, your father and my father stood on the bridge of the same ship as lieutenants together, risking their lives in the same way. I cannot disrespect my father by using the language you have used. How can you disrespect yours?
How could you disrespect
They didn't do that. We know what they did. To face the challenge of bringing communities together to face challenges, this is secularism. This is Rousseau, the idea that humans are born as an empty slate and can be educated into goodness or badness. This is the anthropology of the left. This is the notion that there was no fall, but that human civilization can be improved simply by the cooperation of people who are essentially good coming together to face challenges. This is nonsense. It's not Christianity. It is in fact a secular utopianism of the left, which the king describes instead as a timeless message for us all, emerging from the courage shown in the Second World War. No, that's not true. Rather like an infant school head teacher, he laments hearing of division both at home and abroad, but he doesn't name the division or the source of the division.
He doesn't name any
or the consequences of the division. There was just the implication,
King Charles,
we must try harder
change his religion to Islam.
To be nice. It won't do.
Christian.
It's dangerous. Sophia, raise the alarm. Because the sources of division, if we name them, there are two. They are the neo-Marxist totalitarianism, emerging on one side, that's the anti-freedom of speech people, and aggressive Islamic expansionism emerging on the other. They're left unnamed. What does the refusal to name them mean?
Grandchild don't give a fuck.
Well, others are willing to. Let's go to Australia. Chris Minns, the Premier of New South Wales,
trying to kill as many Jews
just a couple of weeks ago, There were protests in Australia against multiculturalism because it's destroying free speech.
Yep.
And so,
Yep.
Chris Minns, Premier of South Wales, annoyed people by comparing the vulnerability of free speech in Australia to the protection that Americans receive through the First Amendment.
Yeah.
He warned Australians that free speech will have to go if the government intends to preserve multiculturalism.
Yeah.
These were his exact words. Quote, Australia can't have the same free speech protections as the United States because in a multicultural society, the priority is on keeping communities together, and that requires restrictions on what can be said
and what
publicly.
With King Charles as well.
How can the Premier of a region in Australia find the courage to say this?
You can't.
But our King, in the Christmas speech,
can't say either.
He hides from it.
Yeah.
Minns was, of course, talking about what lay behind the assassination of the murdered Australians in the Bondi Beach attack on December the 14th. Because, you see, the faiths are not the same. They do not have the same things in common. Twice in his speech, the King talked about the similarities of the faith, as if by saying it more than once it makes it true, something that was not true the first time he said it.
So why is he saying it?
To this day, he said, in times of uncertainty, these ways of living are treasured by all the great faiths. No, they're not. And again, as I meet people of different faiths, I find it encouraging how much we have in common. No, that's a misreading of the situation.
Yeah.
It's not to say we don't have things in common. It's to say that that's not the right analysis of what's happening in our global society today. What he describes as a shared longing for peace and deep respect for all life is in fact the opposite of the case.
Yeah.
Bondi Beach was not that.
No.
The two terrorists convicted at Preston Crown Court on the 23rd of December, a few days ago, 2025, for planning a mass casualty shooting attack in Greater Manchester, targeting the Jewish community, was not that.
No.
Their intention to use automatic rifles and other firearms to kill as many Jewish people as possible at a public event before continuing to other locations, as was exposed in the trial, was not that. It was not that they have in common with Christianity or with other religions. It's not true.
Not true. So why King Charles lied?
The King's Islamic sympathies were euphemistically misleading.
Islamic.
So too was his understanding of Christian theology and his representation
misleading,
of what
he's lying,
Jesus, our Lord
changed
and
his
our
religion.
Saviour, came for. The King was good enough to mention a few details about Christmas. Tame enemies, you might have expected that. It was a Christmas speech, but he got the narrative wrong. He even got his own religion wrong, bless him.
His own religion.
He was good enough to talk about the details of Jesus' birth, but he described it as a pilgrimage with a purpose, heralded by angels, so there should be peace on earth. But Jesus didn't say that.
Nope.
He didn't come for that.
That's what he thought,
Jesus
because
came
Muslims
to
said
get
that.
us to heaven,
And fucking
to forgive
Islam.
us our sins, to invite us to begin the process of allowing him to transform who we were. But he warned that the earth would be a permanent place of conflict because it was being influenced by the prince of this world.
King Charles.
Evil. Satan.
Evil.
Jesus warned he'd come to bring a sword and a division. Precisely because his role is to judge as well as to save, and to expose the hearts of people for what they are, rather than to paper over our anger, our rebellion, our hatred, our violence, our murder with the cosmic pretense of niceness. What then remains to be done? It's tragic. There's an opportunity to talk about the beauty, truth and goodness of the Christian gospel.
1 minute.